back. Let me ask you something. Why is it that you keep falling for the same type of partner, even when you swore you'd never do it again? You know the pattern. You see the red flags back. Yet somehow you still end up in the same cycle of heartbreak. The truth is, it's not about luck, it's about choices. And until you understand why you keep choosing wrong, it back. You'll keep repeating the same story with a different face. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to break that cycle. When you first meet someone and feel that rush of excitement, take it back. It's easy to believe it's a sign you found the right person. The butterflies in your stomach, the adrenaline when their name flashes on your phone, back. The thrill of waiting to see them again, it all feels intoxicating. That spark can be so powerful it convinces you this must be love, this must be the connection you've been searching for. But the truth is, chemistry is not the same as compatibility. Chemistry is biological, emotional, and fleeting. Compatibility is structural, logical, and lasting. One gives you a high, the other builds you a home. When you confuse the two, back, you set yourself up for heartbreak. Excitement feels good, but it doesn't guarantee alignment. It tricks you into overlooking reality. Think back to times when the attraction was magnetic, almost addictive, back, but later you realize the foundation was weak. In the beginning, the charm and thrill overshadowed the misalignments. Maybe you ignored the fact that your values didn't line up, back, or that your visions for the future were on opposite sides of the spectrum. The pull was so strong, you convinced yourself you could work it out later, that love would fix everything. Back, but love cannot compensate for fundamental incompatibility. When the excitement starts to fade, the cracks begin to show. Suddenly, differences that seemed small become massive obstacles. The reality is, back, spark fades if there isn't substance beneath it. When you mistake short-term excitement for long-term potential, disappointment becomes inevitable. The mistake often lies in assuming that intensity equals connection. In fact, just because someone makes your heart race doesn't mean they align with your values, your goals, or your sense of self. Intensity can be misleading because it plays on your emotions, not your logic. It gives you a rush back, but it doesn't give you peace. And peace is what sustains a relationship when life gets real, when challenges come, when the excitement of the honeymoon phase naturally fades. Compatibility is about how well two people can coexist in the daily grind of life, not how high the emotional roller coaster goes. You don't build a life on adrenaline. You build it on shared values, mutual respect, back, and aligned visions for the future. Without that, the spark becomes a distraction from the truth. Many people chase chemistry because it feels familiar, like a drug you crave. It back. You want that instant spark because it reassures you that something special is happening. But if you look back, get back, you may notice that the relationships where you felt the strongest chemistry were also the ones that ended the fastest or the most painfully. Back. That's because chemistry alone isn't enough to sustain the realities of life. The everyday details of how someone treats you, supports you, communicates with you. These matter far more than the thrill of the chase. Back, but the brain loves novelty and excitement, so it tricks you into prioritizing chemistry over compatibility. This creates a cycle where you keep choosing the wrong person and wondering why it keeps ending the same way. The pattern continues until you break it with awareness. Compatibility doesn't feel like fireworks at first. It often feels calm, safe, steady, and even ordinary in comparison to the rush of intense chemistry. Back, and for many people, calm feels boring because they're addicted to drama. But healthy relationships are not built on constant emotional highs and lows. They're built on stability, trust, and alignment. Back. Compatibility feels like being understood without having to explain yourself, like knowing someone's vision for life fits with yours, like having a partner who not only excites you, but also respects and supports you. Back. That's the difference between someone who lights up your nights for a moment and someone who can build your days with you for years. Choosing compatibility may not feel as thrilling, but it feels deeply fulfilling. Back. It's important to understand that chemistry and compatibility are not mutually exclusive. You don't have to choose one over the other, but you must prioritize the one that sustains a relationship long term. Chemistry is the spark, but compatibility is the oxygen that keeps the fire alive. Without oxygen, the flame burns bright and then dies. Without compatibility, take it back. The most passionate relationship will eventually collapse under the weight of misalignment. Compatibility is what allows love to endure the seasons of life, from the highs of success to the lows of struggle. Without it, passion turns to frustration and excitement turns to exhaustion. Learning to value compatibility over chemistry is the key to breaking the cycle of wrong choices. You must train yourself to see beyond the spark. Back, one of the biggest challenges is that society glorifies chemistry. Movies, books, and songs all praise the idea of instant attraction, of love at first sight, of sparks flying. Rarely do they show the quiet, back, steady work of building compatibility. So when you don't feel instant butterflies, you may assume something is missing. But what's missing isn't love, it's the unrealistic narrative you've been taught to chase. True connection often develops over time as you discover shared values, build trust, and navigate challenges together. It doesn't always start with fireworks. Sometimes it starts with a steady flame that grows stronger and brighter as the bond deepens. If you learn to appreciate this kind of connection, you break free from the trap of confusing chemistry with compatibility. To avoid choosing the wrong partner again, you must change what you prioritize. Instead of asking, do they make me feel excited right now? Ask, do our values align? Can I build a future with this person? Back. Do they bring out the best version of me? These questions shift the focus from temporary emotions to long-term fulfillment. You stop chasing people who make your heart race but leave your soul empty. Back. You start seeking partners who feel like a safe place to land, someone who aligns with your vision and supports your growth. It's not about lowering your standards. It's about raising them. Take it back. It's about demanding more than just a thrill. It's about demanding alignment. That's where lasting love comes from. Not sparks, but substance. Not excitement, but endurance. Ultimately, breaking the cycle requires a shift in mindset. You must learn to separate the feeling of being excited from the reality of being compatible. Back, you must train yourself to look past the butterflies and examine the structure of the connection. Does it have the strength to withstand time, challenges, and growth? Or is it built on the fragile foundation of excitement that fades as quickly as it comes? This requires honesty with yourself because it's tempting to get lost in the rush of new attraction. But the truth is, back, relationships that last are built on more than a rush. They're built on shared visions, aligned values, and steady commitment. The spark may start the fire, back, but compatibility keeps it burning through every season of life. People often mistake what feels familiar for what feels right, and that's where the cycle begins. Back, familiarity is powerful because it tricks the mind into believing something is safe, even if it's harmful. If you grew up around chaos, neglect, or constant tension, that energy becomes your baseline. When you meet someone who carries those same traits, it feels oddly comfortable, almost like home. But just because it feels familiar doesn't mean it's good for you. Familiarity can be a trap that pulls you back into patterns you should have escaped. You convince yourself this is love when in reality it's just repetition. Without realizing it, you keep seeking out what you've always known, and in doing so, you keep choosing the wrong partner again and again. The truth is, the subconscious craves what it understands, even if it's destructive. It back. If you experienced emotional unavailability, controlling behavior, or a lack of affection growing up, those dynamics imprint on you. When someone new exhibits them, it feels natural. Take it back, as though your brain recognizes the pattern. That recognition creates attraction, and attraction creates attachment. But what you're actually attaching to is not love. It's unresolved familiarity. Back. The cycle feels unbreakable because your emotions reinforce it. Each time you believe the story will be different, yet it plays out the same. You're not addicted to the person, you're addicted to the pattern. Until you confront the pattern, you'll keep reliving it. Awareness is the first step to breaking free from this repetition. What makes this even more difficult is that dysfunction often disguises itself as intensity. If you grew up in an environment where love was conditional or inconsistent, intensity feels like proof of affection. When someone is hot and cold, dramatic, or unpredictable, it mirrors what you once knew. Back. That roller coaster of emotions feels like passion, but it's really instability. Consistency, on the other hand, may feel foreign, even boring, because it doesn't match your early blueprint of love. This is why many people reject healthy partners without realizing it. A person who offers peace and stability doesn't activate the familiar highs and lows. So you walk away from what could last, take it back. Chasing what excites you but eventually destroys you. The heart confuses comfort with chaos when comfort has never been known. Breaking free requires understanding that patterns are powerful but not permanent. They are learned behaviors and emotional habits, not destiny. When you repeat them, you reinforce them and the cycle strengthens. But when you disrupt them, even in small ways, you begin to rewire your mind. Back, it starts with noticing your choices and asking why they feel attractive. Do they actually align with your values, or do they simply resemble your past? This questioning pulls you out of autopilot and into awareness. Without awareness, you repeat history blindly. With awareness, you create the chance to choose differently. The challenge is that awareness can be uncomfortable because it forces you to face truths you've avoided. Back, yet only by facing them can you rewrite your patterns. The discomfort is the doorway to growth. Many people assume they are unlucky in love when in reality, they are predictable. They gravitate toward the same type of person with a different face, hoping for a new ending. But you cannot rewrite a story by casting the same characters. Back, the same traits will create the same outcome no matter how hard you hope. It's not bad luck, it's repetition disguised as romance. Once you see this, you can stop blaming fate and start taking responsibility. Back, recognizing your attraction to unhealthy patterns doesn't make you weak, it makes you aware. And awareness is the foundation of change. The moment you notice the pattern, you have the power to interrupt it. That interruption may feel unnatural at first, but it's a step toward freedom. Growth is uncomfortable, but necessary. The irony is that what you reject often reveals what you need. Back. When someone shows you steady affection, kindness, and respect, it can feel uncomfortable if you've never had it. You may question their motives or convince yourself the connection is lacking chemistry. Back. But that discomfort is not proof of incompatibility, it's proof of unfamiliarity. Your brain hasn't yet learned that healthy love feels different from chaotic love. It's not supposed to feel like a roller coaster, it's supposed to feel like calm. But calm can feel foreign when you're used to storms. Choosing differently means leaning into that discomfort rather than running from it. Back. It means giving yourself permission to accept stability. And the more you allow it, the more natural it becomes. What was once strange begins to feel safe. This cycle is not only emotional, but also neurological. The brain builds pathways based on repetition, so the more you repeat a behavior, the more natural it feels. Toxic patterns release chemicals like adrenaline and dopamine that trick you into feeling alive. That's why dysfunction can feel addictive. It lights up the brain with temporary highs. Healthy love, however, releases oxytocin and serotonin, which create long-term stability rather than short-term thrills. At first, those steady chemicals may feel less exciting. But over time, they provide a foundation of peace and trust. By choosing differently, you retrain your brain to crave stability instead of chaos. This takes patience because rewiring doesn't happen overnight. But the brain adapts with consistency. What once felt thrilling but harmful can be replaced by what feels steady and safe. Another challenge is that society often glorifies toxic patterns. Movies, shows, and music celebrate drama, jealousy, and obsession as proof of deep love. You see stories where passion means fighting hard, breaking apart, coming back together. Rarely do you see portrayals of healthy, steady relationships being celebrated. So you grow up believing that chaos equals love and peace equals boredom. This cultural conditioning reinforces personal patterns, making it harder to escape. To break free, you must unlearn not only your personal history, but also the narratives you've absorbed. You must redefine what love looks like for you, independent of what the world glamorizes. Healthy love may not make for dramatic storytelling, but it makes for lasting happiness. Redefining love is part of breaking the cycle. Ultimately, choosing differently requires courage. It means saying no to what feels easy and familiar, and yes to what feels foreign but healthier. It means resisting the pull of patterns that once defined you. At first, this may feel lonely because familiar chaos is no longer an option. But loneliness is better than repeating cycles that drain your spirit. Over time, the unfamiliar becomes your new comfort zone. You learn to recognize love that uplifts rather than love that exhausts. You begin to see the difference between attraction that repeats the past and attraction that creates a new future. Each choice you make toward health rewrites the script. Each step away from dysfunction creates space for growth. The cycle only ends when you decide to end it. One of the biggest reasons people end up with the wrong partner is because they never take the time to truly define what they want. They move through relationships with vague hopes like wanting someone who makes them happy without clarifying what happiness actually looks like in day-to-day life. When the criteria are undefined, almost anyone can temporarily fit into the picture. A kind word here, a little attention there, and suddenly it feels like the right connection. But without clarity, attraction becomes guesswork. You end up settling for whoever shows interest, mistaking availability for alignment. This creates a dangerous cycle of trial and error where disappointment feels inevitable. The lack of definition leads to the wrong choices. Clarity is the filter that protects your future. Many people underestimate the power of defining their non-negotiables. Non-negotiables are not superficial preferences. They are the core values and principles you refuse to compromise on. Without identifying them, you risk giving your time and energy to partners who never shared your vision from the start. Take it back. It's like building a house on sand. It may stand for a while, but it will collapse under pressure. When you don't know what you want, you're vulnerable to being swayed by charm or short-term attraction. The smile, the attention, or the chemistry distracts you from the missing foundation. But when you know your non-negotiables, you create boundaries that protect you from repeating mistakes. You no longer settle for almost right. You demand alignment. Clarity cuts through confusion and prevents compromise on what truly matters. The danger of not knowing what you want is that you begin to accept anyone who fills a temporary void. Loneliness makes you crave connection, and that craving lowers your standards. You convince yourself that attention equals love when in reality it only satisfies an immediate need. This is why many people end up staying in relationships that drain them rather than fulfill them. They confuse presence with partnership, mistaking someone being there for someone truly being right. When the bar is set too low, even minimal effort feels like enough. But this illusion only lasts until reality sets in. Suddenly, the lack of alignment becomes unavoidable. What felt good in the short term becomes painful in the long term. Without direction, every choice feels like a gamble. And most gambles end in lust. Defining what you want requires brutal honesty with yourself. It means looking past temporary desires and asking deeper questions. What kind of life do you want to build? What values are non-negotiable? What character traits do you need in a partner to thrive? This process forces you to confront not just what you want, but also who you are. Because often, the reason people don't define their desires is that it reveals uncomfortable truths. It highlights the ways they've been settling or avoiding growth. It's easier to stay vague than to take responsibility for making intentional choices. But vague desires produce vague results. When you choose clarity, you choose accountability. And accountability leads to better outcomes. Defining your vision is an act of self-respect. It sets the standard for what you will accept. Another trap is focusing too much on superficial traits instead of meaningful qualities. People often create lists based on appearances, careers, or surface-level attributes that may look appealing but don't sustain long-term fulfillment. A partner's looks, job, or lifestyle may catch your eye, but they won't carry you through challenges. When storms come, it's character, values, and consistency that matter. Yet when your list is shallow, you keep choosing shallow relationships. They may glitter in the beginning, but they cannot endure the weight of reality. Redefining your desires means shifting focus from temporary attractions to lasting traits. It means valuing kindness, resilience, integrity, and emotional intelligence over surface level flash. The right qualities may not always sparkle at first glance, but they sustain love when life gets hard. True compatibility rests on depth. Clarity also protects you from manipulation. When you don't know what you want, it's easy for someone else to tell you what you should want. Their confidence or charm convinces you they're the answer, even if they don't align with your true needs. You get swept into their vision rather than standing firm in your own. But when you've defined your standards, no one can convince you to settle for less. You recognize misalignment quickly, and you walk away before you get stuck in cycles of disappointment. Defining what you want acts as a compass, pointing you back to your values when emotions cloud your judgment. Emotions can be powerful, but they can also be misleading. A clear vision cuts through that fog. It keeps you grounded in reality. It prevents self-betrayal. The process of gaining clarity doesn't happen overnight. It takes reflection, mistakes, and sometimes heartbreak to realize what you truly value. Every wrong choice offers clues about what doesn't work, and those clues are valuable. The key is not to ignore them. Each failed relationship can either become wasted pain or purposeful growth. If you use it to refine your vision, the pain has meaning. If you ignore it, the cycle repeats. Gaining clarity means pausing long enough to reflect, asking yourself what the last experience taught you about your needs. It means writing down your non-negotiables, your values, and your vision. Over time, this list becomes your guide. It evolves as you grow, but it keeps you aligned. Without reflection, history repeats. With reflection, history becomes a lesson. Clarity also demands patience. When you know what you want, you must be willing to wait for it rather than settling for what shows up first. Patience feels hard because the desire for connection is strong. But rushing into the wrong relationship wastes more time than waiting for the right one. A clear vision requires discipline because it means saying no to almost right options. It means walking away even when it's tempting to stay. But that discipline protects you from wasted years, broken trust, and emotional exhaustion. Patience ensures that when you finally say yes, it's to someone who truly aligns. Waiting is not weakness, it's strength. It's proof that you value your future more than temporary comfort. The discipline to wait comes from knowing your worth. Clarity fuels that strength. When you finally align your desires with your values, everything shifts. You no longer chase validation because you know what you deserve. You no longer feel lost because your standards guide your choices. Relationships stop being random and start being intentional. This doesn't mean you'll never face challenges, but it means the foundation will be stronger. Knowing what you want gives you confidence and direction. It protects you from repeating cycles of disappointment. It helps you recognize love that matches your vision rather than distracts from it. And most importantly, it transforms relationships from a guessing game into a deliberate choice. That shift changes everything. Clarity isn't just about finding the right partner. It's about becoming the version of yourself that refuses to settle for less. One of the biggest traps people fall into when choosing a partner is prioritizing short-term validation over long-term fulfillment. That quick rush of being wanted, the excitement of attention, and the comfort of not being alone often feels irresistible. The human brain loves instant gratification, so it pushes you to accept whatever soothes loneliness in the moment. But quick validation doesn't equal true connection. It may ease an immediate need, but it rarely sustains a future. Many people trade long-term peace for short-term excitement, convincing themselves it's love. The problem is once the novelty wears off, the emptiness resurfaces. You realize you've been feeding a craving instead of building a foundation. And what's left is a cycle of dissatisfaction. This cycle repeats because short-term validation is addictive. Compliments, affection, or attention feel rewarding even if they come from someone completely misaligned with your values. Each dose of attention feels like proof of worthiness, but it's temporary. You end up chasing the high rather than building something sustainable. It's similar to eating junk food. You feel satisfied in the moment, but it leaves you unhealthy and craving more. Long-term fulfillment, on the other hand, is like nourishment. It may not give you the same instant rush, but it sustains you over time. The problem is that many people confuse the two, chasing validation as though it's love. This leads to choosing partners who provide highs but no stability. The cost is long-term disappointment. Chasing validation often leads to settling for less than you deserve. When the need to feel wanted becomes stronger than the desire to be aligned, you accept treatment that doesn't match your worth. You ignore red flags, justify poor behavior, and make excuses just to keep the validation flowing. The fear of being alone clouds your judgment, and temporary attention becomes more important than lasting peace. But peace doesn't come from attention. It comes from alignment. Every time you settle for temporary validation, you delay the chance of finding true fulfillment. And with each compromise, your standards lower, making it even harder to demand what you deserve. Short-term comfort steals long-term happiness. It's a trade that always ends in regret. Validation is fleeting. Fulfillment is lasting. The hardest part about breaking this cycle is confronting the fear underneath it. For many, the chase for validation is rooted in a deep fear of being unworthy or unwanted. Attention becomes proof of value, so without it, you feel exposed. This fear drives impulsive decisions, pushing you toward anyone who makes you feel wanted in the moment. But true worth isn't proven by attention. It's proven by alignment and consistency. When you learn to face the fear of being alone, you take away its power. You stop chasing temporary highs and start valuing long-term peace. Facing the fear is uncomfortable, but it is also liberating. It shifts your choices from desperation to discernment. And discernment is what protects you from repeating the same mistakes. Long-term fulfillment requires patience and discipline. Qualities that validation cannot provide. It means resisting the urge to settle for immediate comfort and holding out for something that aligns with your deeper values. It means saying no when everything in you craves a quick yes. It means enduring the silence rather than filling it with the wrong person. This patience may feel lonely at times, but it protects your future. Every moment of discipline brings you closer to a relationship built on alignment instead of desperation. Fulfillment doesn't come quickly, but it lasts. Choosing it requires strength because it forces you to think beyond the present, but the reward is worth the wait. Long-term fulfillment gives you peace, stability, and partnership that temporary validation never could. Another reason people choose short-term validation is the belief that love should always feel exciting. Society sells the idea that passion means constant intensity, but real love is not always thrilling. Real love is steady, calm, and consistent. It grows in depth rather than in drama. But when you've been conditioned to crave highs, steady love can feel underwhelming. This makes people walk away from relationships that could last, chasing the next rush of validation. The truth is, excitement fades no matter who you choose. What remains is the foundation: values, respect, and shared vision. If the foundation isn't there, no amount of chemistry can save it. Long-term fulfillment isn't glamorous, but it's deeply rewarding. It's not about chasing highs, it's about building stability. When you start valuing fulfillment over validation, you begin to see relationships differently. You no longer accept minimal effort just because it makes you feel wanted. You start asking deeper questions. Does this person align with my values? Do they respect my boundaries? Can we grow together? These questions shift the focus from immediate gratification to long-term potential. And with this shift comes empowerment. You are no longer at the mercy of fleeting attention. You become intentional about your choices. This doesn't mean the path will be easy, but it will be purposeful. The more intentional you become, the less likely you are to repeat old patterns. Long-term fulfillment becomes the new standard. And with it comes a sense of strength you've never felt before. Of course, choosing long-term fulfillment requires self-awareness. You must know yourself well enough to understand your values, needs, and vision for the future. Without self-awareness, you fall back into the trap of chasing validation because you don't know what else to look for. Self-awareness acts as a filter, helping you recognize misalignment quickly. It prevents you from being swayed by charm or flattery alone. The stronger your sense of self, the less tempting short-term validation becomes. Because you no longer need attention to prove your worth, you become free to wait for alignment. Self-awareness transforms loneliness into clarity and turns waiting into preparation. The better you know yourself, the better choices you make. And better choices create better relationships. Self-awareness is the foundation of fulfillment. The shift from validation to fulfillment is not just about relationships, it's about life. It's about refusing to settle for temporary highs in any area, whether love, career, or personal growth. It's about choosing depth over distraction, alignment over approval, and purpose over impulse. When you stop chasing validation, you stop living reactively. You begin to live intentionally, making decisions that support your future instead of sabotaging it. This mindset doesn't just attract the right partner. It attracts the right opportunities and the right life. The moment you prioritize long-term fulfillment, everything changes. Because fulfillment doesn't just give you a partner who stays. It gives you a peace that lasts. And that peace is worth more than any temporary attention could ever provide.